This is the Week in Review for TheTrumpet.com, Friday, April 15th, 2011. Iran's influence is reaching far beyond the Middle East. Last week, a top U.S. general said the Iranians are expanding their ties with Latin America. General Douglas Fraser, the head of Southern Command, pointed out that Iran now has 10 Latin American embassies and is building cultural centers in 17 countries. In 2010, Tehran hosted heads of state from Bolivia, Guyana, and Venezuela. Expect Iran to continue to take advantage of staunch anti-American attitudes in these countries. The new Egyptian government has halted construction of an underground security fence being built along its border with the Gaza Strip. Former President Hosni Mubarak began the project 2 years ago in an effort to stop the flow of weapons to the Palestinian terrorists of Hamas. Leaving the fence unfinished leaves hundreds of smuggling tunnels unblocked. It also leaves holes in Israel's long-standing reliance on Egypt as an ally. On April 11th, it became illegal to wear Islamic face veils in France. The new law bans covering one's face in public, such as with a niqab or burqa. Women who disobey the new law can be fined approximately $200 or be forced to take citizenship classes. Those who force others to wear veils can face up to a year in prison and stiff fines. Other European Union nations, such as Belgium and the Netherlands, plan to follow France's lead. Several communities in Spain have banned the full face veil in some public places. Expect Europe to push back more and more strongly against Islam. On Wednesday, German Finance Minister Wolfgang Schäuble stated that Greece may have to restructure its debt. The German minister is the first senior official in the Eurozone to admit that the future might hold this unpleasant scenario. Other EU figures have maintained that Greece will be able to avoid doing so, but Schäuble said that if the European Central Bank and European Commission show Greece's financial position is unsustainable, additional steps must be taken. Greece may be forced to quit the euro or default on its debt. This prospect comes after the EU gave Athens a massive bailout. Investors still do not believe that investing in Greece is a stable position. Meanwhile, a Portugal bailout appears to be in the works, and Europe's finances face more problems in the future. On Wednesday, China and India resolved to restore full defense cooperation. This is a landmark geopolitical event involving the forces of a combined population of 2.5 billion. It was reached between the leaders of the two countries on the sideline of the BRICS summit currently underway in Sanya, China. After Beijing dropped its opposition, it was decided that a high-level delegation of Indian military officials will visit China in June. China is already India's largest trade partner, with bilateral trade between the two reaching more than $60 billion last year. The Asian giants hope to boost that figure to $100 billion by 2015. The March 11th earthquake and tsunami in Japan may have had a lasting effect on its military. The Wall Street Journal said Thursday that the heroic and indispensable actions of the Japanese self-defense forces may have changed Japan's relations with its military forever. Since its conquest and subsequent defeat in World War II, the reputation and legitimacy of the Japanese military has struggled, and attempts to expand the self-defense force have met with resistance. However, more than 100,000 Japanese servicemen are in the disaster zone working with U.S. soldiers to stabilize the area. Their rescue missions and service is turning the tide of public opinion from dubious and negative to thankful and positive. The journal noted that this change of heart could influence how Tokyo chooses to normalize the role of the military in protecting Japanese interests abroad. On Monday, opposition forces arrested Laurent Gbagbo, former president of the Ivory Coast. Last year, a close election resulted in the nation's constitutional court claiming victory for Gbagbo. However, the Independent Electoral Commission found that challenger Alassane Ouattara won. Gbagbo refused to step down, and the nation plunged into upheaval and violence on both sides. However, French forces supporting Ouattara cleared the way for his fighters to apprehend Gbagbo. Paris has downplayed its involvement in its former colony, but the reality on the ground in Ivory Coast, as well as Libya, reveals that Europe is growing in its willingness to intervene in foreign conflicts. The Royal Navy captured 17 Somali pirates in February. The frigate HMS Cornwall apprehended the criminals, fed them, and has now released them. According to a BBC journalist, the pirates received a nice cup of tea and 1 cigarette per day. One was given a nicotine patch. They were then taken together with their skiff and released on the beach in Somalia. One commentator contrasted the episode against Admiral Nelson's Royal Navy, which was more about striking fear with its daring and ruthlessness than observing structures of human rights. Inflation in the United States reached 9.6% in February, if measured by 1980s standards. The Bureau of Labor Statistics has since changed its formula, but in any event, the troublesome inflation rate means that the US dollar and American savings accounts are losing value. And that is the Trumpet.com Week in Review.